honestly, the story that I think is more indicative for more Americans today than impeachment is actually a story that seems rather minor on the surface. It seems rather minor on the surface, except that we have literally tens of millions of people in the United States who are afraid that the cancel culture is coming for them. And cancel culture does exist. Okay, the culture of we are going to get you fired because we don't like your social media posts. Not even social media posts that are extraordinarily horrific, the kind of stuff that would get you shunned in polite society, just stuff that is a little edgy, right? That kind of stuff, that has impact on hundreds of millions of Americans. Okay, because we have in the United States an iron triangle between the Democratic Party and the media and corporations. Okay, that iron triangle goes something like this. The media and the Democrats agree on virtually everything. Democrats have an agenda. The media push that agenda. And then the media and Democrats pressure corporations to do their bidding in order so that they can foster that agenda. So unofficially, they are allowed to use threats in order to make clear what exactly they want to happen. Okay, so what this results in very, very often is corporations looking to cram down a particular viewpoint on you and then cancel you, right? That is what many Americans are feeling today. There are polls out there that show that a vast majority of Americans in every single political group, including liberals, except for people on the hard left, feel like they cannot say what they want to say in public because they're afraid that they are going to be canceled, fired, cast out from polite society. Hey, that is a real phenomenon. It's taking place every single day. And I will say it is amusing to watch as some people on the hard left get canceled, and then they turn around and they're like, why aren't people defending me? We are. It's just that you guys created this society. This actually happened to a socialist moron named Nathan Robinson. He got canceled from The Guardian. And he said he got canceled from The Guardian because he had put up some anti-Israel tweet. Okay, now I think he's an idiot. I think that his views on Israel are abhorrent, but I don't think that he should lose his columnist slot over at The Guardian. He certainly would not defend anybody on the other side who got canceled. In fact, he has repeatedly said cancel culture does not exist. Okay, it does exist. The fact that there are people out there who want you to lose your job for the sin of saying things they don't agree with is extraordinarily real, and it is happening on a moment-by-moment basis. The latest example of this is Gina Carano. So Gina Carano is one of the stars of The Mandalorian. She plays a character called Cara Dune. And Gina Carano was a former MMA star, and then she was in a movie called Haywire, in which she sort of made her acting debut. She's been in a bunch of stuff since then, and then her biggest role to date was as Cara Dune in The Mandalorian. So she's sort of the ally of The Mandalorian, who's played by Pedro Pascal. Now, apparently back in November, according to The Hollywood Reporter, there was talk about giving her her own spin-off show because Disney Plus has decided to move into a bunch of Star Wars spin-offs, right? Just like The Mandalorian. Well, then they decided we're not going to do that anymore. We've decided that we're not going to do that. Apparently, they had decided that back in November because she had made some social media posts about President Trump, and this made them very angry. And so they essentially removed that possibility. Okay, so again, this is, according to The Hollywood Reporter, quote, this is not the first time Carano, who played former Rebel Alliance soldier Cara Dune on The Mandalorian, has been the focus of social media ire for her political comments. Last November, she issued contentious tweets, one in which she mocked mask wearing amid the novel coronavirus pandemic, another in which she falsely suggested that voter fraud occurred during the 2020 presidential election. A source with knowledge of Lucasfilm's thinking told The Hollywood Reporter, quote, they've been looking for a reason to fire her for 2 months. Today was the final straw. Okay, so finally, they got Cara Dune. Right? They finally got Cara Dune. They finally got Gina Carano. By the way, what were those old tweets that were so terrible? So she apparently tweeted on November 14th, 2020, quote, Democratic government leaders now recommend we wear blindfolds along with masks so we really can't see what's going on. Okay, that is not something that is cancelable. On November 5th, she tweeted out, we need to clean up the election process so we are not left feeling the way we do today. Put in place laws that protect us against voter fraud. Investigate every state. Film the counting. Flush out fake votes. Require ID. Make voter fraud end in 2020. Fix the system. That's not controversial. I'm sorry, that is not controversial. Saying that you have to protect against voter fraud with things like voter ID and filming counting and flushing out fake votes, that is not controversial. Okay, so they're saying that they had meant to cancel her all the way back in November for those kinds of posts, which are slightly edgy, but not frankly, all that edgy. Okay, then she posted the final straw. So what exactly was the final straw? She posted on Instagram. It was a picture of a Jewish woman running away from Nazi soldiers. Okay, and here's what she wrote. Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Sad face, right? Sad emoji. And then it's a quote that says, because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? Okay, that is not her making light of the Holocaust. Okay, like as your official Jewish friend, right? As an Orthodox Jew, let me just say, I don't like Holocaust comparisons. I don't. I think that virtually all of them are overwrought. I think that very few of them really are accurate. I think most of them ignore historical context. I think virtually all of them liken things that are not like the Holocaust to the Holocaust. I don't think that liberals in the United States are on the verge of rounding Jews up and sending them to concentration camps, for example. With that said, this post is an overwrought Holocaust comparison. It is not a fireable offense. It is not even close to a fireable offense. Her saying that neighbors should treat people decently, because if you don't treat your political neighbors decently, you can be roped into doing things that are evil, which is the general point. That happens to not be a general point that is wrong. It's just that it ought not be done in the context of a Holocaust comparison. Again, I don't like Holocaust comparisons. Is that a fireable offense? Okay, so let me give that a little bit of flavor. Is that a fireable offense? Are overwrought Holocaust comparisons, right? Comparisons that should not be made, that are inappropriately made to the Holocaust, are those fireable offenses? Well, let me just mention that there's another star of The Mandalorian. His name is Pedro Pascal. And Pedro Pascal has recently trended because he is a leftist on politics and because he has expressed support for transgender rights and all of this. And so this makes him very popular in the Twitterverse. Also, he's very progressive on issues like immigration. Here is a tweet that Pedro Pascal put out on June 20th, 2018. Hashtag, this is America. It is a picture on the top of Germany 1944, a bunch of Jews standing behind barbed wire in a concentration camp. America 2018. It is a picture of a bunch of kids in cages, right? That is, so the comparison is kids in cages and Germany 1944. Except for the fact that we are housing and making sure that those kids are okay, as opposed to, gassing them to death. That comparison is perfectly appropriate. But was there an iota of comment about Pedro Pascal? Of course not. Gina Carano just got fired. She didn't just get fired. She also lost her job at UTA. So UTA represents her. So she didn't lose her job. They represent her, right? UTA is an agency. They represent her, and they dumped her on the side of the road. Disney Plus has decided that Gina Carano can no longer be associated with Disney Plus because she made an overwrought Holocaust comparison that happens to be of the right. If you make an overwrought Holocaust comparison, you're of the left. If you call Trump Hitler, if you suggest that kids who are being kept separate from their parents in accordance with the Flores settlement, by the way, if that is like the Holocaust, you're totally fine. We're going to get to more of this in just one second because it is indicative of where we are in the culture, and it is a terrible moment for American culture. And yes, this is more indicative for more Americans of what is going on in their daily lives than many of the things that are being said in the Capitol building today. Okay, and that is not to make light of the impeachment, and is not to make light of what happened on January 6th. It is to say that social movements have consequences, and we are now in the middle of a mass social movement to expel half of the American population from the body politic. Okay, so according to The Hollywood Reporter, Carano will not be returning to The Mandalorian or the Star Wars galaxy after sharing a post on social media implying that being a Republican today is like being Jewish during the Holocaust. Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm. There are no plans for her to be in the future, a Lucasfilm spokesperson said in a statement. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. I have a question. Like, really, this is a question. Who got denigrated based on cultural and religious identity? I don't understand. Is the suggestion that when you say that people should not treat other people the way that Germans treated Jews prior to the Holocaust, that is denigrating Jews in some way? She's saying what happened to Jews is bad. I don't like the comparison because, I don't like overwrought Holocaust comparisons. But is that denigrating? I don't feel denigrated. I'm both culturally and religiously Jewish. In fact, I'm one of the most Jewish people I know. Hard to find people more Jewish than I am. I wear the hat and everything. I do not feel denigrated by Gina Carano's Instagram post. I feel, again, like it was overwrought. Do I think it's a fireable offense? Okay, also, let's just talk about things that are denigrating and abhorrent and unacceptable. Okay, so Disney Plus has now canceled Gina Carano for the great sin of an Instagram post that they find inappropriate. Okay, from the same people who are constantly denigrating conservatives. I mean, like on a regular basis. But in any case, you know what's actually comparable to the Holocaust? You know, one of the most comparable things happening on planet Earth right now to the Holocaust. The rounding up of Uyghur Muslims in China and sending them to concentration camps and then forcibly sterilizing the women, as reported by the Associated Press. That is one of the most similar things you can have to the Holocaust. What would you say if I told you that Disney Plus, in the credits to Mulan, thanked the Xinjiang government, which is the province in China where they are currently holding Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps? And they thanked, Disney Plus thanked the Chinese government. Now, which seems more cancelable to you? Working with a government that is forcibly sterilizing Muslim women on the basis of their religion, which is kind of like the Holocaust, like without the exaggeration or the overwrought of it. That's really a lot like the Holocaust, actually. Which is more like that? That or Gina Carano put out a social media meme that included a Holocaust comparison, just like Pedro Pascal did a couple of years ago. But Pedro Pascal is good because he's on the left, and Gina Carano is really bad because she's not on the left. So UTA has now also dropped the actor. On Wednesday, the hashtag Fire Gina Carano was trending following that Instagram post. The post has since been deleted. Screenshots were widely shared by users on social media who called for her firing from the hit Disney Plus Star Wars show. Now, again, she deleted the post, so it's not even like she left it up. Right? She deleted the post, and that's still not enough because that's the way that this works. The minute that you delete the post, it's not as though absolution is granted to you. It's not as though, oh, you know what? I was overwrought. That was a mistake. I took it down. Nope. This is just an excuse to beat the living hell out of you. According to sources, Lucasfilm planned to unveil Carano as a star of her own Disney Plus series during a December Investors Day presentation, but scrapped those plans following her November tweets, in which she suggested that we ought to protect against voter fraud, and also in which she suggested that the media were essentially blinding you to some things that were true. Multiple Mandalorian spin-offs are in the works from executive producers Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, including Rangers of the New Republic, which could have potentially starred Carano. After the latest round of social media posts, the decision to cut ties with the actor came swiftly. There is a damned shocker. There is an unbelievable shocker. So it is not a shocker at all, of course, but it is indicative of the world in which we live. And everybody knows that they are on the hook for this. Right? This is the prevailing wind of our culture right now. If your corporation, the one that hires you, finds out that 10 years ago you posted something that is now out of fashion, let's say that back in 2008, for example, you supported traditional marriage in the state of California, and that comes out now in 2021, you could lose your job. Why do I say that? Because that's exactly what happened to Brandon Eich, who is the CEO of Mozilla Firefox. That happened just a few years ago when he held the exact same position on Proposition 8 that a man named Barack Obama did at the time. Right? The attempt to cancel anyone and everyone, because the standards are constantly shifting and constantly moving, but really only people on one side of the aisle, is ongoing. Did you know that every like on this video creates one additional leftist tier? Don't ask me why. That's called science. To take advantage of this amazing opportunity, hit the like button.